Okay. So in the last session, we have discussed about the arrays, and we have discussed what exactly an array and how can we define an array inside your Apex programming. And whenever I'm defining an array, what are the various parts are available in the array definition, what each part indicates, what is the significance of each and every part we have discussed. And upon defining an array by specifying a required data type, then what will happen internally, how it is allocating the memory, how it is dividing that whole memory into the various partitions, how to identify each and every partition, but everything we have discussed. And then how can we assign the values into the array partitions, and how can we retrieve the values from the array partitions we have discussed. Okay, so now let's see how can we define this array, and then how can we manage the elements inside the array through programmatically. We'll see some practical examples on these arrays, how can we manage the elements here. Now, so whenever we are defining an array, we have to specify the data type, which indicates what type of elements the array can hold. We are using these dimensions. Dimensions are indicating this is not a normal variable and this is an array variable. And we can specify the name of the array variable, depends upon your requirement. Use the keyword new in order to calculate the required amount of memory to be get allocated for the array variable based on the data type of the array based on the size. And then upon defining that array, we have to specify the size also, which indicates how many number of elements can be stored inside this array. Okay. Now we have to follow this definition upon defining an array inside your Salesforce instance. Okay. Now, so let's see how can we define this array here. For example, I want to store a collection of numerical elements, that means integer elements. Now tell me how can we define this array now. Integer, specify the dimensions, and then array variable name. For example, I'm indicating customer codes equals to new integer. We can specify the size. For example, I'm indicating that size as 10. Now then what this array indicates basically, what is the meaning of this statement? This array contains 10 integer elements here. Okay. Now, when coming to this array can able to hold 10 integer elements. Okay. It won't hold other type of elements because we have restricted the array. Please store only this integer type of elements, not the double type, not the ID type, not the string type. Please hold only the integer type of elements which does not have any decimal points. Okay. Now, for example, I want to store the country names. I'm having so many country names are available. I want to store inside an array. Now tell me how can we define this array here? String. Okay, string, I'm indicating that country names equals to new string of some 100. That means what? How many country names we can store inside this array? 100. Okay, it can hold 100 country names. That means string elements. 100 string elements can be held inside this array. Okay. Now, for example, I'm having some record IDs are available with me because some 20 record IDs are there. Those record IDs may be the combination of account record ID, user record ID, case record ID, and the task record ID. All this combination of record IDs are available with me. Now, how can we define this array here? ID data type. ID, I'm indicating record IDs equals to new ID. ID of 20. Now this array can hold 20 record IDs. It can hold 20 record IDs. Whatever the records that we have, okay, from those records, 20 record IDs we can able to store inside this record IDs array. Now, for example, I would like to store account records. What we can do? I am having some 30 account records are there. How can we define an array to store 30 account records? How? Account type. Account now. Accounts array equals to new account. How many? 30. So now this array can able to hold 30 account records. It can hold 30 account records. Whatever the account records that we have, from those records, 30 records can be held by this array here. Each record will be treating like as an element. Okay, each record will be treating like as an element. Every record will be having ID, name, rating, industry, annual revenue, phone, fax, website, everything. All the information is available. Like that, we can able to store 30 account records inside my array variable, that is accounts array. I want to store 5 case records. How can we do that? Case array here. Like some case records. Equals to new case. How many? 5. It can able to hold 5 case records. Account is a data type. It's a subject data type. Okay. Each and every Salesforce object will be nothing but a data type. It's a subject data type. Now, I want to store 15 hiring manager records. What we can do? Hiring manager underscore C. Now, I'm indicating HR records equals to new hiring manager. How many? 15 records. Which can hold 15 hiring manager records. Which can hold 15 hiring manager records. Now, I want to store 20 user records. How? User. Okay? Now, like as I'm indicating, active users equals to new user of 20. It can hold 20 user records. It holds 20 user records inside this. Now, sometimes you can raise a question, sir, I want to store 20 records which are combination of account, contact, case, user, and my custom objects also. What we can do? Object. I want to store records. I want to store some collection of records. I don't want to go with collections. Then what is the data type we need to use now? Suppose if you want to store any type of element, single value, then we can go with object, fine. I want to store any type of record. It may be account record, contact record, opportunity record, case record, or my hiring manager object record, anything. What we can do? Yes subject, right. Okay. Yes subject type. For the primitive data types, we are having object. For the subject type, generic type is yes object, Salesforce object. Now I would like to specify now active records equals to new yes subject type. Some 20. It can hold 20 records related to any Salesforce object. It can hold 20 records related to any Salesforce object. Combination of multiple object records we can able to place inside this array. Now, sometimes I want to store some elements, which are some different types of elements here. Then what we can do? I want to store one numerical value, one string value, one decimal, one double, one date type, one date time type, one boolean type. That means multiple elements of different types I want to store. How? Simply object, right. Now, I would like to specify the elements equals to new object. Object is a data type which can able to store any type of value. Only one value it can store, not multiple. To store a single value of any type, we are using this object. But now I want to store multiple elements of different types. One integer, one double, one decimal, one boolean, one date, one string. Like that we are using that array type over here. Like the similar way, this is for single elements we can store. But now if you want to store the records, one account record, two contact record, three case record, four object, because some other object record, then at that time to store the collection of, to store the combination of Salesforce object records, we are using the yes object type of array. S object is a generic data type which is used to store any object record inside this. You can store account record, contact record, case record, your custom object record also inside that. Like that, to store the multiple object records inside a collection, we are using this yes object type of array here. Now, it can hold 10 heterogeneous elements. It can store 10 heterogeneous elements. This is the way we need to define the arrays. Upon defining the array, depends upon the type of the elements you would like to store. We have to specify the data type and we have to define the array. If you want to combine the multiple types of elements inside the array, if it is a single element, then we can go with object. If you want to store Salesforce object record, then we can go with the yes object type. Okay. To store the primitive type of element, the combination of different primitive type of elements we are using object. To store the different types of Salesforce object records, we are using a subject data type. Okay? Clear? Now, so this is the way we are going to be defining the array here. Now tell me, whenever I am going to be defining the array, the memory will be allocating or not? Yes. That means it is supporting static memory allocation or not? Yes. That means what? Arrays are purely supporting static memory allocation. Okay, arrays are purely supporting static memory allocation. In static memory allocation, we have identified a drawback. What is that? Wastage of memory, right? That means if I am defining an array, okay, with the name like some user of some 20, then that means what? To store the 20 user records, how much memory is required, that much of memory will be getting reserved automatically. Suppose in that memory, if I am storing only 2 user records, what about the remaining 18 user records memory here? Waste. Okay, this is the problem. Because if it is a static memory allocation, there is a major drawback, that is memory wastage. Memory wastage will be getting happened when coming to the static memory allocation. Next, for example, assume that. So now here I have defined an array which is of type user to store some 20 user records. But from a database, I have received 22 user records here. Okay, from a database, I have received 22 user records. Up to 20 records I can accommodate inside this one. Whatever the remaining 2 additional records here. Can I extend this array size at runtime? No. Because that already we have discussed that array size is fixed. Upon defining the array, we are indicating that size. Once the size has been defined, the array size will be fixed, which can't be grow at runtime, which can't be shrink at runtime. That means at runtime, we can't increase the array size, we can't decrease the array size. That is a major drawback when coming to the arrays here. Okay, that is one of the major drawback inside the array, that we can't increase the array size and we can't decrease the array size at runtime. Okay, because here arrays are purely supporting static memory allocations here. Okay, clear? Now in this case here, when coming to the arrays here, okay, when coming to the arrays, what are the various drawbacks we have identified? Now tell me the drawbacks of arrays here. First one, what type of elements can be stored inside the array? Similar type of elements, homogeneous elements you can able to store inside the arrays here. Arrays are purely supporting to store homogeneous elements here, not heterogeneous elements. Different types of elements we can't store inside this. Okay, now the first one, arrays allows us to store only homogeneous elements. Homogeneous elements. We can't store the heterogeneous elements inside the array. Inside this array, we can't store the heterogeneous elements. This is the first drawback of array. It's a common question in every interview, difference between arrays and the collections. When moving forward, we are discussing about the concept of collections. It's a common question, difference between arrays and the collections. Next, the second one. The second drawback is arrays are purely supporting static memory allocation. Static memory allocation, which makes the array size fixed. Which makes the array size fixed. That is, we can't increase or decrease the array size at runtime. We can't increase or decrease the array size at runtime. That means array size cannot be grow or cannot be shrink at runtime. Is the second major drawback. The third one, arrays causes the memory wastage. Arrays causes the memory wastage. This is the third major drawback. Next, the fourth one. Now tell me, whenever we are going to be managing the elements inside the array, do we have any ready-made methods given by Salesforce? No. We don't have any ready-made methods to be used to manage the elements inside the array. Everything we have to implement through programmatically. Like sometimes, inside my array, I'm having some 20 elements are there. Now from those 20 elements, I would like to find out for an element. That means I would like to search for an element. We don't have any ready-made method. Through programming, we have to search. I want to insert an element at the middle position here. But that is not possible here. Okay, that is not possible. I can't insert that element in the middle position. We have to escalate to the remaining elements next level. That we have to do it through programming. Okay, I would like to arrange the elements in the starting order, either ascending or descending order. But we don't have any ready-made methods. To achieve these kind of things, we have to write our own additional coding. Okay, so that array doesn't provide any ready-made methods to manage the elements. In order to add the elements, to remove the element, to search for an element, to arrange the elements, we don't have any ready-made methods. We have to write that additional code through programming here by our own. So that is one of the major drawback when coming to the array. But when moving forward to the collections, whatever the drawbacks are there inside these arrays, all these drawbacks will be getting overcome in the collections over here. What are the drawbacks are there for these arrays? Each and every drawback has been overcome in the collection concept here. Everything is ready-madely available here. Okay? Now, in this case, the fourth drawback here. We don't have the ready-made methods to manage the elements inside the array. We don't have any ready-made methods to manage the elements inside this array. Okay. So these are few drawbacks are available when coming to that arrays. So that in this case here, whenever we are going to be managing some large collection of elements, whenever we are going to be performing the operations on some more number of records or the more number of elements, arrays are not suggestible to use because it will occupy more memory inside that. It will occupy more memory. Okay. So that here, arrays are not suggestible to use whenever we are going to be managing some multiple elements. Whenever we are performing the operations on multiple elements, then arrays are not suggestible to use. We need a mechanism where we can able to manage the elements very easily by using some ready-made methods. But those facilities are not available inside this arrays here. These are the four major drawbacks that we have when coming to that arrays. Okay, now. So now in this case, how can we manage the elements inside my array? Now let's see practically. How can we define the array? How can we store the elements? How can we retrieve the elements? Upon retrieving the elements, we'll see the multiple mechanisms. How can we use that normal index mechanism? Second one will use normal for loop. Third one will see enhanced for loop. Okay, how can we do this one? We'll see practically, and then we'll see upon defining the array itself how to store some elements inside this. Okay, we'll see practically in this case. Okay, clear? Now, for example, so let me define an array to store some elements inside this. I'm going to the execute anonymous window. Still it is loading this developer console. Now, I would like to go to the execute anonymous window now. Now, I would like to define an array here. I would like to define an array in order to store some elements of type string. I want to store some set of elements over here. Okay, I would like to store some set of elements inside my array. So that here I am defining an array here. Okay, a numerical array to store some customer codes. Integer customer codes equals to new integer. I am indicating the size as 10. Okay, I am indicating the size as 10. So this is the array which I have defined. Now tell me what is the size of this array now? 10. How do we know? Now, Through programmatically, how do we know the size of this array? Through programming, how can we get the array size? No. Now in this case, whenever if you want to get this array size, we are having a ready-made method called as size method. Size is a ready-made method which has been given by Salesforce here. Now I want to know that how many number of elements are there inside my array. Okay. Now print the array size. I would like to display that array size here. System.debug array size is array name customer codes dot size. Whatever the array name that you have indicated, please specify the array name dot size method. Size is a ready-made method which is going to be returning how many number of elements are there inside my array here. Now what is the size of this array now? 10. Okay. So now it will be having the 10 elements here. Now let me execute this code. Request has been sent to the server. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating this array size as 10. Now here 10 elements are available. What are those elements? What are those elements? Have we assigned any values as of now? Then null. All the values are null. That already we have discussed in the last session here. We have discussed theoretically. Whenever I am going to be defining the array by specifying that array name and the definition, by default it is going to be allocating the memory, and in that memory location it is storing the default value as null. So now I want to know what is the practical proof to me that it is storing that elements are nulls. So that's here I want to print the array elements here. I want to print the array elements. System.debug array elements are customer codes. That means whatever the name that I have indicated here. Array name, just to specify the array name. In that array, whatever the elements are available, all the elements will be getting visible to you one by separating a comma. To get all the elements, I am using this array name. If you want to get a specific element, then we have to use array name along with index position, which always starts from 0. Okay, now let me execute this. So whenever I'm defining this array, by default allocating that 40 bytes of memory. Now in those memory location, it is storing the default values as null. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating all the elements are nulls. By default, it is storing the default value as null for every partition. From there, we can able to assign the value for those partitions here. Okay, for those partitions, we can assign the value for this particular array here. Then how can we store the values inside this? How to assign the values here? Assigning values. How can we assign? That already we have discussed. Whenever if you want to assign some value, then specify the array name along with the index position equals to value. This is the syntax we have to follow. Now here I am having my array name is some customer codes. I want to store the values inside these positions here. Now I am assigning the values. Customer codes of 0. I am assigning the value 2001. Customer codes of 1. I am indicating 3001. Customer codes of 2. I am assigning 4001. Customer codes of 3. I am giving the value 12. Customer codes of 4. I am giving the value 5600. Customer codes of 5. I am indicating 1000. Customer codes of 6. I am giving the value 90. Customer codes of 7. I am indicating the value some 21. Customer codes of 8. I'm giving the value some now 200. Customer codes of 9. I'm giving the value some 900. These are the elements I have stored over here. So now here in this case, inside my array, I'm having the index position starting from 0 to 9. So that here I'm assigning the values manually over here. So now 0th index position, a value. First index position, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, 8, 9. In these elements here, I'm storing the values over here. Once elements have been getting assigned, then I'm going to printing those elements over here. After assigning array elements are, I want to show that array elements here. Once the values has been getting assigned, then I want to print those array elements here. Now, when I click on execute, it will display the results here. Now we can see those elements. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating initially the values are all are nulls, but now we have stored some values over here. Whatever the elements we have stored, the same values will be getting available in the respective index positions. Okay, now, for example, you can raise a question. Sir, for example, if I'm not supplying the value for this array index here, 8, what will happen in this case? Null. It will be holding the value for this 8th position as null. Once you click on execute, see the result. It is loading that debug log file. Select the debug only checkbox. Now for this one element we did not specify any value, so that it is storing the default value as null. Okay, now for example, can you store one more element over here inside this? Customer codes of 10. I'm giving value 101. Do we have this index 10? No, we are having the index up to 0 to 9 only, but we don't have the index position 10. When you try to store more number of elements inside that, it is going to be raising an exception, okay, list index out of bounds exception. Index is out of range because we are having the size as 10. That means it is going to be having the index position from 0 to 9 only, but you are trying to be storing the element, okay, with this index position 10, which is not there actually. So we can't accommodate this element. We can't hold these elements. When you click on execute, it is giving the list exception, list index out of bounds 10. That means with the index number 10, we don't have any indexes available. We are having the index up to 9 only, so that we can't store more elements inside this. That's what here I told you here. Array size cannot be grow at runtime. Array size cannot be shrink at runtime. We can't store more number of elements. Like for example, whenever I'm going to be collecting some data from the database, whenever I'm searching for some records from the database, then how many records it will return? I don't know. Sometimes it will be returning 1 record. Sometimes it will return 5 records. Sometimes it will return 1,000 records. Sometimes it will be returning empty also. Because based on the matching conditions, it is returning some records from a database. But at that time, how many matching records are there? I don't know. At that time, if you don't know how many number of records the database is going to return at that time, don't go with these arrays. Arrays are not suggestible to use. Because suppose for example, upon fetching the data from the database, if I am using these arrays, if I am giving the array size as some 5, suppose if the database is returning that number of records are 10, then it can't accommodate over here. Suppose if I am giving the size as 100, the database is returning only 2 records, then 98 records memory will be waste. For that reason here, okay, for that reason, we can't go with these arrays whenever you are dealing with some large elements. Whenever you are connecting with the databases, whenever you are storing the database such results, the arrays are not suggestible to use. At that time, we can able to go with the collections. Depends upon the number of records the database will return, the collection size will be getting prepared automatically by default. If the database is returning 20 records, it will store all the 20 records. If the database returns 1,000 records, it will store all the 1,000 records also. That facility is there. Okay, the facility is there inside the collection. So that here arrays are not suggestible to use whenever you are fetching the data from the databases. Okay, because how many matching record the database will return, we don't know. There is no idea. At that time, we can't go with that arrays. Okay, now. So in this case, when you try to accommodate more number of elements, it is going to raising that exception, okay, list index out of bounds exception. That means here, whatever the index you have given, that index size is more than the range what we have right now. So that we can't accommodate that element. We don't have that index position 10. So that it is indicating that elements over here. So now this is the way we are going to be defining the array, and then we can able to hold the elements inside the array. That means we are assigning the elements to that array by specifying the array name along with the index position. Okay. Now, let me execute this. See the results. Select the debug only. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating all the results are available. Whatever the elements are there, all the elements will be getting visible. But all the elements are getting visible, okay, in a single row itself. But I want to show each and every element in a separate row. How? Like as 2001 in a separate row, 3001 separate row, 4001 separate row, 12 separate row. Like that, I want to show each and every element in a separate line. How can we do that? Then what we can do? Okay, printing with that with the help of indexes. How? Okay. Okay. Now, in this case, what needs to be done? Now, whatever the way we have assigned, the similar way we need to print the elements over here. Print the elements in different rows. Like I would like to use that system.debug customer code is. I want to specify customer codes of 0. I want to print the second element. For that one, I'm indicating that index as 1. Third element, I'm indicating that index as 2. Fourth element, indicating the index as 3. Fifth element, I'm indicating that index as 4. Sixth element, I'm indicating that index as 5. Like that, we have to print each and every element separately. Okay, we have to display each and every element separately here. For example, I'm going to printing those elements also. Now, 6th index, 7, 8, 9. These are the indexes are available. So here I'm going to be printing these elements here by using this array name along with that index position. Now it's a blind way of printing the array elements. Suppose if the array contains 1000 elements, then do I need to write the same system.debug 1000 times? It will be looking like as complex. But the functionality is very simple. Just we are printing the array elements. That's it. Nothing else. At that time, it will occupy more lines of code. It will occupy more number of characters inside your organization, and which is going to be taking more time for the compilation, which will take more time for the execution, which will be impacting on the application performance. So in this case, I don't want to go with that lengthy mechanism to retrieve the elements over here. Then do we have any shortcut mechanism to do this? Instead of writing the same statement again and again and again, then can we reduce this number of lines of code? How? By using looping statements here. Go with that iterative statement. What iterative statement you know? While, do while, for loop. Anything we can use that. What are the iterative statements that you have? We can able to use this one. Now initially let me print with this one here. Now, here I am going to be executing this piece of code. Let's see. Now the elements will be getting visible one by one. Each and every element will be getting visible in a separate row. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is indicating the customer code is 2001, 3001, 4001, 12, 5600. Like that, all the elements will be getting visible in a separate rows. so that we can print the elements in a single row or we can print the elements in the different rows also. That possibility is available to you. Okay, now, but in this case, when you observe this entire code, okay, when you observe this entire code, the most of that code is similar, but only the difference is this is the value. Okay, only the index value is different. That's it. The entire thing is same. But in this case, what I want to do, instead of writing this same code again and again and again, I would like to write this code only once and keep on. I would like to execute this code repeatedly till the array size. I would like to repeat this code from 0 to till what? Till 9. How to execute this code? By using iterative statement. Now tell me an optimized way of using iterative statement. Now, in this case, print the array elements by using for loop. I am using that for loop over here. Here I am giving that line break. I am giving a line break. I want to print the elements here. Now from where to where we need to iterate this array now? 0 to 9. Why? Because we are having that array size as 10. So starting from 0 till it will be having 9. So that here we need to iterate this one. For integer, counter equals to 0. Counter less than or equals to what? 9. Counter plus plus. Because every time this value is incremented by 1. So that I'm incrementing the value by 1. And then I'm iterating from 0 to 9. Because the array index is starting from 0. We are having totally 10 elements are there. So the last element index position is 9. So that here I'm iterating this array from the counter value 0 to till it is reaching to 9. Now every time I need to fetch that element over here. I want to indicate that. Array element is, I want to show that. How can we get the array element now? Array name along with that index position. Okay, now the array name is we are indicating like as customer codes. Now what is the index value over here? Counter. That's it. Simply we can specify counter here. Okay. Now, so here I am going to be indicating that the counter value equals to 0 to counter value till reaching to that 9. That means please iterate this statements, okay, from 0 to till 9. Every time please increment the value by 1 and then get that array element and display that array element here. Okay. So instead of writing these many number of lines of code, we can able to simply use the 2 lines of code to accommodate or to implement the same functionality over here. Here also we are achieving the same. Here also we are achieving the same. But here we have written 9 lines of code, 10 lines of code. Here we have written only 2 lines of code here. Okay, so that we can able to optimize that. Instead of fetching the data by using the normal system.debug statements, we can write that system.debug statement only once and then we can able to iterate that statement, okay, depends upon the array size from 0 to till the array size. And every time we need to increment the value by 1. Okay, clear? Understood this one up to now? Let me execute this. Click on execute. We can see that array elements. Select the debug only checkbox. Now we can see the array elements. Whatever the elements are available, we can see all the elements, whatever we have inside my array here. Every element we can able to make it visible over here. Okay, clear? This is a way we are going to be assigning some values. We are going to be retrieving the values, okay, from the array by using this, the normal format and by using that for loop also. Now tell me in this case here, for example, after some time, my client said that please extend the array size to some 15. Now, any other places we need to make the changes here? If I am executing this code, then what will happen? How many elements it will print now? Till 10 only. Whatever the remaining 5, no, it won't print. It won't print those elements here. Okay, it won't print those elements because now this for loop is repeating from 0 to till 9 only because we have hard-coded the value 9. But later we have changed that array size from 10 to 15. But in this case, what happened? Whenever I'm increasing the size, if you want to print all the elements, we have to change this value from 9 to what? 14. We have to change. But I forgot to change that value over here. Okay, but I forgot to change this value inside my for loop. Then what will happen? It will print the values up to 10 only. The last 5 elements will not be getting visible here. But in this case here, what happened? Whenever the client has given some requirement, whenever the client asks me to make some changes, whenever I'm changing this one, okay, ultimately we have to make the changes inside this for loop also over here. But I don't want to do the changes in the multiple places. Whenever I'm making the change in one place, it has to reflect in that for loop also automatically. Then what we can do? Now, in this case, instead of hard coding this value, can I get the size dynamically at runtime? Yes. How? By using size method here. Okay, by using that size method. Now I'm indicating that. Customer codes dot size. Now tell me what is the size right now? What is the size right now here? 15. It is iterating from 0 to 15. Up to what now we need to iterate? 0 to till what now we need to iterate now? 14. Then what we can do in this case? Then what we can do? Size minus 1. Any other thing? Any other thing? Instead of using this minus 1, simply can I make up to less than size, right? Size is what? 15. Less than size, that means up to 14. Okay, that's it. Simple. Okay, whenever we are using this size method, we can just remove that equality over here. That's it. If I'm using that hard-coded value, use that equality. Okay, clear? Now, so in this case, I am going to be iterating this array from 0 to till 14, so that we can able to get all the 14 elements whatever we have. Suppose in future, if you are making this array size as 150, that will be iterating till 149 over. So no need to make the changes in the multiple places. If you make the change in one place, that will be reflecting in the for loop automatically by default here. So that here, depends upon your requirement, we can able to get the array size dynamically at runtime by using that size method. So that don't hard code that value here. If I'm hard coding that value, that means if I'm giving that fixed value, then upon increasing the array size, we have to increase the value in the remaining places also. If you forgot to change the value in the remaining places, the application will be giving some wrong results to you. So that here, write the code in such a way, whenever I'm making the change in one place, it has to be get reflected in the other places inside my application also. Okay? Clear? So that make that functionality dynamic. You can make that functionality dynamic instead of having that hard-coded values. So that array size I'm collecting dynamically at runtime by using the size method, and then I'm going to be iterating that for loop up to this particular array here. Now click on execute. See the results. Select the debug only checkbox. Now we can able to see that all the array elements whatever we have. Okay, it may be hard coded, it may be size method also. Both will be working as it is here. Similar. Clear? Understood the concept as of now? How to define array, how to store the elements, how to retrieve the elements. By using the normal blind mechanism, and the second one, the optimized way by using for. Okay? Standards are very, very important upon writing the code. Now, so in this case, whenever we are going to be printing that array elements, we are using a normal for loop where I am going to be getting each and every element based on the index position. Okay, based on that index position, we are going to fetching each and every element by using array name along with that index positions. Okay, now, so that here we are going to be iterating that for loop, okay, based on index position starting from 0 till it will be reaching to that array maximum size. Okay, now here we have specified, we have defined a integer variable and we have initialized this variable with the value 0. Second one, we have written a condition to verify and to iterate this for loop till it is reaching to the array, the maximum size at the end of that array. And then every time we are incrementing this value by 1. All these are three parts we are writing over here. Initialization part and the conditional part and then incremental decremental part. Now, do we have any other mechanism that instead of using this normal for loop, can I iterate this array from starting to ending without relying on the indexes? Without depending on the indexes, do we have any other mechanism? Yes. There is a mechanism that is available inside your Salesforce instance that is called as enhanced for loop. We have a feature called as enhanced for loop here. So what exactly the enhanced for loop and what is the use? How to define this enhanced for loop? Now let's see here. Enhanced for loop is used to iterate the collection from starting to ending automatically without any variable definition, without any condition, without any incremental decremental. Directly we can able to iterate the collection from starting to ending automatically by default. Okay, without defining any variables, without initializing anything, without verifying any condition, without incrementing or decrementing any value, directly we can able to iterate that collection from starting to ending automatically. That means inside my enhanced for loop, we are not depending on the indexes. We are, instead of collecting that values based on index position, I would like to collect the value directly from that collection. From that array or from that collection, I would like to collect the value directly over here. I don't want to rely on the indexes. I don't want to increment that index position every time. I don't want to decrement the index position every time. I want to get the value directly here so that we can able to get the values very fastly. Okay, we can get the values very fastly over here. So for that reason, Salesforce has introduced that enhanced for loop where it doesn't require any initialization part, any conditional part, any incremental decremental part. Directly we can able to fetch the values directly from that collection. Like now, for example here, assume that this is the collection that we have. Like some customer codes, which is having some elements inside this. I would like to iterate that collections over here from starting to ending automatically. Then how can we use that here? Now let's see. The syntax. We have to use the for loop. Okay, here also the name is same for loop. Now in this case, I will tell you the simplest format here, the simple indication, the simple thumb rule. Just write like as a normal for loop, make a colon in the middle. Okay, make a colon in the middle. You will be having that right side. This is the right side. And this is the left side. Okay, we have the left side and the right side for that column. For this column, we are having this. This is the left side and this is the right side. In this right side, specify the collection. That means which array you would like to iterate. Which collection you would like to iterate here. Now specify the collection. What is that collection name here in my place? Customer codes. Okay, customer codes. Now, over. Right part is over. Now left part. So in this case, in the left side, just define a variable. What type of variable? The similar type of variable like as your collection. Now collection, nothing but customer codes. Customer code is of type what? Integer. Just define one integer variable here. Integer, some code. That's it. Over. Print that value here. System.debug code. That's it. Nothing else. Over. Like as your normal for loop only here. Now tell me, anywhere have I mentioned indexes here? No. We are going to be collecting the code. Code means what? Directly the element. Okay, element we are collecting directly here. Now here I'm going to printing that element itself directly. That means that I directly I'm collecting the value. I'm printing that. There is no concept of indexes here. No need to initialize. No need to define. No need to condition. No need of incremental, decremental. Everything has been over. So now simply we can write that. Now that means for each and every integer element from the customer codes. Customer codes means what? It's a collection, it's an array which contains a collection of elements. It will collect all the elements. From those collections here, from those elements, every element it will pick up, it will be placing inside your variable, whatever we have defined. And from that, you can directly print that value directly here. That means, instead of fetching the elements based on the index, we can able to fetch the element directly. Okay, we can fetch the element directly with the help of enhanced for loop. So that enhanced for loop is providing the faster mechanism when compared with the normal for loop also. When compared with the normal for loop, enhanced for loop is providing the more faster mechanism to you upon retrieving the elements over here. So that in the entire Salesforce development, always we are using this enhanced for loop only to iterate the connections. The complete Salesforce development we are going to be using based on enhanced for loop only. Normal for loop is very, very rare cases. Okay, now in this case here, whenever if you want to retrieve the elements, okay, from the collection, then always we can able to go with that enhanced for loop here. Okay, now make a note of this one. It allows us to iterate the specified collection from starting to ending automatically. It allows us to iterate the specified collection from starting to ending automatically. It provides the faster mechanism upon fetching the elements. Because it will collect the values directly instead of collecting based on indexes. Instead of collecting based on indexes, it is collecting the elements values directly over here, so that it is providing the faster mechanism when compared with the normal for loop. Now, the syntax. I'm indicating that syntax over here. We can specify the colon. We can specify the array name or the collection name, which you would like to iterate. And then here we can define the variable here. Data type and like some reference name. Variable name. Here we can directly print that reference name. That's it. Done. For example, for each and every integer code from the customer codes, system.debug, customer code is code. So this is the format we have to use in order to iterate that collection from starting to ending. So no need to use any conditions, no need to use any incremental, decremental, no need to use any initialization part. Directly we can able to fetch the element just by using that enhancer function. But here there is a small side effect is available. Okay, there is a small side effect. Let's see what exactly the side effect over here. There is a small limitation in this case. For example, here I am going to be iterating this customer codes collection from where to where, starting to ending. It will be collecting each and every element from the starting of that collection. It will be passing that element value we can print. Okay. Now, in this case, whatever the enhanced for loop is available, enhanced for loop is purely a one-way direction. It's purely one-way direction. That means starting to ending of the array only. That means this is called as a forward-only cursor. Forward-only cursor means it will iterate the collection from starting to ending only here. But sometimes my client said that I want the elements in the reverse order here, ending to starting. Is it possible? No. Enhanced for loop won't support. Enhanced for loop is purely a read-only cursor. That means it will forward-only cursor, which will be iterating the collection from starting to ending only. There is no reverse concept here. Suppose if it is a normal for loop, then here I am using the for loop. I want to print the elements in the reverse order. How can we do this? Is it possible or not? Yes. How? Simply we can able to make it reverse. Like whatever the array is available, simply we can able to make it reverse here. Now we can able to specify now from this the size minus 1. And then here we can able to indicate that the value till it is greater than or equals to 0. Every time we are going to be decrementing the value by 1. That's it. Over. So now this is the forward only and this is the backward only here. Two directions are available when coming to the normal for loop. But the enhanced for loop is purely a forward only cursor. Nothing but starting to ending of the collection. Not in the reverse order. Whenever if you want to iterate the elements in the reverse order, then we have to go with that normal for loop here. Enhanced for loop is purely a forward only cursor which will be iterating the elements from starting to ending of the collection or array. It can't traverse elements in the reverse order. There is no such possibilities inside that enhanced for loop. Okay? Clear? Got the difference between normal for loop and enhanced for loop? Now, in normal for loop, we can able to iterate the collection from starting to ending also or ending to starting also over here. But in enhanced for loop, it is always starting to ending only, not from ending to starting here. Okay? Now, make a note of this one. Now, make a note. It is a forward only cursor. It is a forward only cursor which iterates the collection or array from the starting to ending of the collection. It can't iterate the collection in the reverse order. It can't iterate the collection in the reverse order. There is no such possibility here. Clear? Now. So now let's see how can we use this enhancer for loop in order to fetch the elements from starting to ending without using any indexes. Now, let me go with the practical part. Here I am indicating this is the reverse order. Print array in reverse order. Let me print up to this part here. Then we'll see that enhancer for loop. We are printing the elements from starting to ending, ending to starting also both. Now, we are printing the elements here. 2001 3001, like that. Here we are going to be indicating these elements here. What is the last one? 900. Up to this 900 here. After that, we are going to be indicating these elements here. So now the array elements here. We are going to printing in the reverse order. 2001, 3001, 4001. Like that, here we are going to printing this element up to this 900 over here. Now this is the starting. Let me give the difference over here. I would like to give you a line break so that we can understand. Now, so let me see. Select the debug only checkbox. Now these are the elements are available in the normal order over here, and these are the elements are there in the reverse order. Okay, you are having the reverse order elements here. Like here we are having 2001, 2001, 4001, and the 12, 5600, 1000, like that up to in the reverse order like as 900 here. Okay, we can able to iterate that array, okay, in the normal order. That means in the starting to ending or ending to starting also by using this normal for loop. But the enhancer for loop is going to be iterating the collection from starting to ending only. Now, I would like to print the elements. Print the elements by using enhanced for loop. Here I am indicating that. System.debug. I would like to print. I am using that enhancer for loop for. I would like to specify the colon. My array name is customer codes. Every element will be of type integer, so that I am indicating integer here. So now I am indicating that variable name as C code. You can give any name over here, reference name. System.debug. Customer code is, I want to show that. C code. That's it. So that we can able to make that code optimized. Because here we are having no more number of characters are available. Here we are having very less number of characters inside your enhancer function. So that Salesforce is always recommending you to go with that optimized way of writing that code. So that you don't go with the normal for loop. If there is any exceptional case, then only go with that normal for loop. Or else always we are going to be using that enhanced for loop over here to represent the elements. Now, so now let me execute this piece of code. Request has been sent to the server. Select the debug only checkbox. Now we are able to see. Now the enhancer for loop. Enhancer for loop is going to be fetching the data from those array. It will be displaying all the elements one by one over here. All the elements will be getting visible to you one by one. Okay, we can able to see all the elements also. Whatever the elements are available, all the elements you can able to see by using this enhanced for loop also. Okay. Now, this is the way we are going to be interacting with the arrays here. We can able to define an array. We can able to get the size. We can print all the elements available inside the array, and we can assign the values. We can retrieve the values by using the normal mechanism, and we can use an optimized way called as for loop. We can print the array values in the reverse order by using for loop, and we can make that code some more optimized by using this enhanced for loop. Okay. Now let's see one more example on this one. Now, so let me define a string array, then how can we manage the elements? But in this case, what we did, whenever I'm going to be defining that array, simply I'm specifying the size, and then later I'm assigning that elements over here. In order to assign the value for each and every partition, I have used that separate line of code. Suppose in this case, if the array size is some 100, then do I need to write this 100 lines of code to store these elements inside this? No, it will be looking like as lengthy. Then how can we optimize this code here? For that one, we are using that second format over here. We are using that second format. So in this case, in the second syntax, upon defining the array itself, we can able to assign that value. That means we can store the values also. How? Let me show you practically. For example, I'm defining a string array. Like some country names. Equals to new string. I want to store some elements. Here I'm going to be indicating that flower braces, which is used to indicate what elements you would like to store. Specify the elements here itself. Like some India, some USA, some UK, some Australia, some China, Japan, Bangladesh. Like that, here I'm storing so many country names. That means what? In one line itself, I have defined the array. Along with that, I have stored the elements inside that array itself. Here in one shot, we can able to do that. Instead of assigning this value separately by using the separate lines of code, upon defining the array itself, we can able to store the elements inside this. And once the elements are available, then I want to know what is the size of this collection here. Print the collection size. I want to print the collection size over here. Now I want to show that. System.debug collection size is. How can we get the collection size? Array name dot size method. Okay. Country names dot size. So which will be representing the size of this array here. How many number of elements can be stored? So in this case, whenever you are going to be defining the array, depends upon the number of elements we have specified. Based on that number of elements, array size will be getting different automatically. Now here, how many elements you have specified? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that array size will be returning as 7. Now, click on execute. See the results. Now it has to show the result as array size is 7. Now it is indicating this collection size is 7. Now I want to display the elements over here. How can we print? Print the elements. How can we print the elements? Now let's see. For each and every country names. Now the collection name is country names here. I am defining a string element. String like some country. You can give any variable here. Directly print that. Country name as I would like to print that. So for each and every string element country from the collection country names collection, then I am going to printing that the country name also directly here. So we can able to define the array, and upon definition we can able to store the elements, and then we can able to retrieve the elements by using enhancer for loop also. So whatever the 7 elements are available, all the 7 elements will be getting visible in a separate row. Now let me execute this piece of code. Let's see the results. Select the debug only checkbox. Now it is going to be indicating all the elements. So whatever the elements have specified, each and every element will be getting visible. India, USA, UK, Australia, China, Japan, Bangladesh, whatever the elements are available have specified, all the elements will be getting visible one by one. So that here we can able to write that code in a single line. Upon defining the array itself, we can able to store that elements also, and then we can iterate that elements by using that enhanced for loop or normal for loop also. Okay, this is the way we are going to be dealing with that arrays inside our Salesforce instance. Clear? Now, so this is the concept of arrays in our Apex programming. With this one, we are done with the fundamental concepts here. We are done with the operators, data types, output statements, and then writing some small business logics, conditional statements, iterative statements, arrays, everything we have done. Okay. Now, so now from tomorrow onwards, we are entering into the object-oriented programming. So what exactly the object-oriented programming? What is the use? And how can we write the business logic by using object-oriented programming language? And what exactly a class? What exactly an object? How to write this business logic within the class? We'll see practically from tomorrow onwards here. Okay. So now OOPS concept is very, very important. If you understand this OOPS concept, then the further concepts are very, very easy for you. Okay, because the complete business logic we are writing by using this OOPS concept only here. Okay.